All right, so this is an investigation I've been working on since I started at King 5, and I want to show you the moment it began.
Got approached on the sidewalk.
This man goes by the name of Brian, but investigators say that's likely not his real name. And there's hundreds of people in the Seattle area that have had Brian or someone like him knock on their front door.
She said, your chimney's got a big hole in it.
They'd seen our chimney.
They pointed out a couple of issues with the chimney.
Then that simple repair turns into the homeowner losing everything.
How much did this ultimately cost you?
I think somewhere around $100,000, $170,000.
It was about $38,000.
$21,700.
It's not okay. Yeah, it really makes me angry.
Sources close to investigations believe this to be one of the biggest construction scams Seattle has seen in decades. And the King 5 investigators have spent months tracking this operation and found it goes beyond just a scam.
Would you say this is a crime ring?
I would say that this is probably a crime ring.
You may think that this could never happen to you, but these suspects are so smooth that investigators say they've stolen millions of dollars from hundreds of victims. And not just in Seattle, cases stretch across county, state lines, and even international borders. But there's one detail connecting them all: an Irish accent.
I think his Irish accent.
Oh yeah, very, very much an Irish accent.
Oh, he had an Irish accent.
If you got like a certified, I need to change it faster, so I'll be able to...
Watch our full King 5 investigation right now on the King 5 YouTube page or head to king5.com/investigators.
Jail-issued tablets being broken repeatedly by inmates in Seattle to make shivs or homemade knives. In one case, an inmate used one and tried to stab an officer. That's all according to the King County Corrections Guild, which represents about 500 workers at the downtown Seattle jail, as well as the facility in Kent.
Never seen this many weapons in the facility in my career. And it's somebody's gonna get hurt, they're gonna get killed.
So that was the president of the union, who himself is a corrections officer, has been for almost 30 years. His son has the same job for the last 2 years at the Seattle facility. You think that weighs on a father?
Am I gonna get that call that my kid was stabbed? You know, I don't think any parent wants to get a call like that.
All the union president is asking for is for jail administrators to take this seriously, to punish those inmates who violate policy, which he says includes breaking tablets. He just says they shouldn't be getting new ones, and they are. The King County Department of Adult and Juvenile Detention has not responded to our request for comment, nor have they confirmed any information about these alleged incidents.
A new dump of public records gives us the most complete insight yet into what state of Washington health investigators uncovered at Equita Pharmacy. The now shuttered compounding pharmacy in Kirkland, Washington, broke all kinds of safety rules, as we've reported, as it manufactured GLP-1 diet drugs like Zepbound and Ozempic. What we learned from these records is that the state first received complaints about Mochi Health, the online telehealth that sold Equita drugs, in mid-2024, earlier than previously known. And the pharmacists that worked at Equita were not happy with the shortcuts and cost-cutting ordered by Mochi CEO Myra Ahmad. Records show they staged a walkout on July 9th, 2024 in protest, and another one when Ahmad reportedly allowed pharmacy assistants to compound or mix the GLP-1s. That can only be done by licensed pharmacists or using assistants as against health regulations. Despite all of this, Mochi Health, based in San Francisco, remains in business. For more information on our reporting in this story, look for the King 5 Investigator series Selling Skinny, which is streaming now on YouTube and on the King 5 Plus app.
Just as I sat in and was going to start the ignition, I saw a huge red flash and the whole car shook, and it felt like it was like the loudest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Oh, it was a lightning strike because the circuits are blown up in the house. You can see where the smoke came out and stuff, and he took one of the controls out of the wall for the heater. There's a wall heater in this back bedroom where the fire was at, and it was all black inside there looking. I feel pretty lucky that I have a good city and everybody's okay. You know, I mean, there's a lot of expense and work that has to get done, but
Thursday was a wild weather day. This is what we saw across western Washington during the day. Thunderstorms rolling through, thousands of lightning strikes. In fact, 8,000 lightning strikes in Washington and Oregon alone in a 24-hour span. I want to take this opportunity to teach you something. So if you heard anyone say the word severe thunderstorms affiliated with this storm, they're wrong. A severe thunderstorm is a technical term that we use in meteorology. You have to have at least one of the following things present for it to be considered a severe storm. You need hail at least 1 inch or greater. You need winds gusting at about 60 miles per hour, or you need a confirmed tornado. We didn't see any of the above in Western Washington. So while yes, thousands of lightning strikes are impressive, definitely got people paying attention to the weather, and we definitely saw impacts across the region. Technically speaking, that's not classified as a severe thunderstorm.
What if Washington never had to change the clocks again? This week, Congress got one step closer to making daylight saving time permanent. The U.S. House of Representatives passed the bipartisan Sunshine Protection Act, and now it goes to the Senate, and it seems likely President Trump would sign it into law. Washington has already approved permanent daylight saving time, so if federal laws change, then we'd get the green light for the state to stay on the same time year-round, and we'd stop changing the clocks every spring and fall. What are the pros and cons? The biggest benefit would be more daylight in the evening during the winter, and if you dread those 4 p.m. sunsets, then that sounds pretty good, right? Obviously a lot less confusing as well than remembering to switch our clocks. But it's not a clear-cut answer because we're so far north, some winter sunrises in Seattle wouldn't happen until nearly 9 a.m., meaning darker mornings for commuters and kids going to school. Some scientists say standard time is actually better for our circadian rhythms and our overall health. And airlines have also warned that the adjustment could take several years. But let me know in the comments, what do you prefer?
For more than 3 years, La Resistencia volunteers watched images like this, detainees shackled, waddling up the steps, boarding their own removal flight out of Boeing Field. But recently, Josefina Mora-Chung says they've noticed new safety concerns.
It appears that the fueling is happening at the same time that people are boarding with their wrists shackled.
On September 25, 2025, volunteers captured an Eastern Air flight being fueled up during boarding. Then again on January 17, 2026, and again on April 21st and the 23rd. Detainees clearly seen going up the steps and a fuel truck behind the plane.
If there were an emergency where a plane went up in flames during a fueling, people would have an extremely difficult time being able to get off while they're shackled.
Fueling while boarding is against King County Airport's regulations that ban passenger loading or unloading during fuel handling. FAA allows the practice, but requires an evacuation plan and other safety measures. It doesn't mention anything about how plans change if the passengers are in shackles.
We really worry that lives would be lost during a flight if it were to go up in flames.
King County Airport officials said in a statement they have delivered on promises, including installing more cameras at the airport that are clearer for deportation flight monitoring.
But without any kind of accountability measures and a way for making sure that ICE, GEO Group, and Sky Service are actually following these rules, there is no way that people are going to be safe on these flights.
Friday here on the show. We like to wear shirts from musical artists, and you could start us off, Ariel.
Yeah, mine's Regina Spektor from the Zoo Tunes concert last year. So it was actually a great show. Never been to the Zoo Tunes before that. It was pretty cool. Like, you know, you can kind of hear some birds and stuff like that in the background. I loved it.
Yeah, I think you have a big stash of those kind of shirts. So
I do.
You're going to be on Fridays for a while. All right, Terry.
Yeah, mine is not quite as cool of a story as Zoo Tunes, but mine is pretty cool in of itself. I got the one and only Taylor Swift. I mean, why would I not rock the Taylor Swift, right? She's a cultural phenom, an icon. musically, culturally. She's a philanthropist. She's an incredible artist. And I have 3 daughters, so I went through every single stage of Taylor Swift, from Little Taylor to Big Taylor.
What's your favorite song?
Probably, why you wanna be so mean? That song right there. Yeah. All you ever gonna be is mean.
Listen, I'm not going to rap any Sir Mix-a-Lot, but I love the guy, man. Huge fan of Mix.
And you should. Why are you not going to rap Mix?
Because listen, Baby Got Back is one of the most licensed, rewritten scripts and lyrics ever. That song has been in over 300 movies in all different ways. So listen, a little hats off to Sir Mix, and hopefully someday we'll get Mix on this show because, man, come on, man.
And he's a sports fan. He's a Seattle guy.
I think
again, Baby Got Back.
Yeah.
Posse on Broadway.
Tons.
Yeah.
You'll really increase your chances of getting him on the show, though, if you give us a sample right now.
Let's take a look what's on tap for today's show.
Compare this year's first half to 2025's, and Seattle police data brings good news. Total crime falls 1.8%, violent crime drops nearly 2%, and June stands out.
We saw no homicides for that month, and that's the first time that's happened in over 50 years.
But zoom into individual neighborhoods, and the numbers tell a different story. In the West Precinct, violent crime jumps 9%, robberies spike 28%. And in Wallingford, a wine bar takes another hit. This week, burglars strike for the 7th time since the shop opened in January 2025. Move toward Alki Beach, and neighbors say the 4th of July turned into a nightmare with fireworks lobbed at cars and homes. Police arrested one teen for allegedly flinging a firework into a large crowd.
And we're working to make sure that we can give victims the justice that I think they deserve.
For Chief Sean Barnes, that means making changes.
We're making some changes. We're moving some of our specialty units over to investigations so that can be like a second set of eyes and a second set of hands.
The chief says another tool helping officers is a network of cameras.
2 men from the Seattle area will now spend 6 years in prison for crimes tied to a homeless encampment in Thurston County called The Jungle. It's located near I-5 and Pacific Avenue in Olympia. Investigators say they seized pounds of meth and cocaine, and that the men illegally possessed a variety of guns they used to protect their drug business.
I'm in Tacoma outside the courthouse with an update to a case we first told you about July 15, 2024. Now, 2 years later, there's an arrest in the case. That's because a ballistics investigation has just been completed and a man has been charged with second-degree murder and reckless driving. Detectives called that man, Chasten Files, and asked him to turn himself in. He did so. Now, the allegations in the court documents is that Files had tracked down his girlfriend and Sean Miller at a pub along Tacoma's waterfront. He saw them both and they got in their car, they took off. He followed, according to investigators. He forced them to stop, according to what police are saying in their report. And when Miller got out, he says that Miller punched at him and hit him with the butt of his gun. And then Files took out his own weapon and fired several shots, killing Miller.
Come on, man. It's night and day. It is night and day, man. It's probably 2.5 times bigger than the one we had. It's so gaudy. It's beautiful though. It's beautiful. I mean, the rings just over time have, just gone crazy. Mine I can actually wear maybe from time to time. That ring though, those guys can't wear that. That's just a big piece of jewelry that you just got to keep on the mantle somewhere. But it's definitely night and day. It's beautiful. It's awesome. The guys deserve it. And that's the era we're in right now. You know what I mean? These rings just continue to keep getting bigger and bigger. I want to say they said it's the biggest Super Bowl ring ever.
A sword-wielding suspect is in jail after terrifying shoppers near a busy Puyallup grocery store. Deputies say the man walked into a pharmacy on 176th Street East on July 3rd. He grabbed items and threatened employees with a 24-inch katana before running toward a crowded Fred Meyer. Pierce County's air operations team tracked him from above, guiding deputies and a WSP trooper to the scene. The suspect ditched the sword and ran, but was tased and arrested in the parking lot. The 24-year-old faces burglary, intimidation, and resisting arrest charges.
Just before 6:30 a.m., we received 911 calls reporting a fire on the rooftop here of a 3-story apartment building on the 100 block of North 45th Street in the Fremont neighborhood. When our firefighters arrived on scene, they reported that they were able to find the fire on the rooftop, but when they did their additional search, they realized that the fire had gone into the void space of the 3rd floor and rooftop. And then from the void space, it's traveled throughout the entire roof. So as a response, we upgraded this to a 2-alarm fire for additional resources. Part of that is to gain additional access to hydrants throughout the neighborhood. So we had very long hose lines to gain access to the hydrants in the neighborhood. This is in a tucked area, so it's limited access. It's very narrow streets. So that's one of the reasons why we had additional firefighters here. We had about 80 firefighters responded to the initial incident. That's about 11 fire engines, 6 ladder trucks, and Rescue 1 and command support units as well.
It is a powerful sight to be seen. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is rolling its Steel Across America tour into Seattle today as a part of the lead up to the 25th anniversary of 9/11. The foundation was created in memory of Stephen Siller, an FDNY firefighter who was off duty on September 11, 2001. When he learned about the attacks, he strapped on his gear and he actually ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel to the World Trade Center because his truck got stuck in traffic. He did die while helping others. These fine folks are ensuring that we keep his and many other memories alive. And today the organization is well known for community support like building homes and paying off mortgages for families of fallen first responders and military members. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation will even display a massive piece of steel from the World Trade Center at these stops. So slow down and give them a salute. Say hello when you see the Tunnel to Towers Foundation supporting America's heroes and their families in your community.
71-year-old Naru Khosla is best known for her leadership in education, philanthropy, and being a scientist. But now she's stepping into the sports spotlight after the National Football League said she's expected to become the controlling owner of the Seahawks. She co-founded CK12 Foundation, the nonprofit organization that has worked to reduce the cost of textbooks for K-12 students across the world since 2007.
We don't recognize that our children's generation is different from our generation. They're digital natives.
Born in India, Naru met her husband Vinod, one of Silicon Valley's best-known venture capitalists. They were high school sweethearts, and together they immigrated to the United States and have 4 children.
She said her calling and felt what her calling was watching her children be educated in this country.
Greg Bell has covered the Seahawks for decades. He's fielded questions about the Khoslas from fans and radio hosts alike.
This is the first Super Bowl champion to be sold within months of winning it all.
Hey, if you see a sign like this, it might be your sign to donate blood. And they're pretty pleased with the turnout they had at the Ukrainian Cultural Center in Bellevue, where about 30 people donated blood for a drive that was planned a couple of months ago, but just happened to fall at the perfect time. So here's the thing. The American Red Cross has declared an emergency over a nationwide blood shortage. They say it dropped by about 25% last month.
We call it critical gap. And so basically that means that our patient needs and the amount of donors that are coming in is not matching. So we have this big gap that's happening. We don't really know why. There's just been kind of like a downtrend since May.
Not a huge concern for the big hospitals right now. Harborview has plenty of supplies, Seattle Children's too, but they are keeping an eye on it. If donations don't pick up, and they're often slow in the summer, it could become an issue. Also worth mentioning that Bloodworks Northwest, which is a primary supplier of blood, has issued what they call a code red. So this is happening all over the place. Right now, hospitals say they're in good shape, but we'll see what happens.
Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal and other nonprofit advocacy leaders were outside of the federal courthouse in downtown Seattle earlier this morning to demand that ICE investigate the deaths, the fatal shootings of the 2 men, one in Biddeford, Maine, and one in Houston, Texas. And they also talked about the state of fear that immigrants are living in Washington state as well. One of the issues that did come up today was that the Department of Licensing in Washington state still continues to share driver's data with Customs and Border Protection. Washington DOL has cut ICE off from accessing DOL data, but it still allows CBP to do so, and people called for a block. People also shared personal stories about how their lives have changed and how their families' lives have changed, including how some people, when they pack their lunch bags, they're also remembering to pack their passports because they're not sure what is going to happen to them when they're on their way to work.
A convicted rapist is now living in Enumclaw after being released from a facility on McNeil Island that houses sex offenders released from prison. Robert Law was convicted of rape and attempted murder back in 1986. He was also charged with assault in 2010 while in custody. Within the past 3 years, a court denied his release, citing instances of violence and threatening to kill workers, but he was released last week. Community members have expressed a lot of concern about his release, so the King County Sheriff's Office is holding a virtual meeting next Thursday evening at 7 o'clock to try to address those concerns.
Could more seals and sea lions soon be killed to try to save endangered salmon? Congress is considering a bill that could make that happen. I'm Bethany on the King News Desk, and here's what you need to know. House Bill 9621 heads to a House hearing next week and would expand when states and tribes can lethally remove seals and sea lions blamed for eating endangered salmon. The proposal would also change some of the rules governing how those removals are carried out. Supporters say it's a necessary step to protect struggling salmon populations. But critics argue science shows habitat loss, dams, climate change, and fishing remain the biggest drivers of salmon declines, and they question whether killing more marine mammals would make a meaningful difference. The debate comes as a harbor seal pup is recovering at SR3 after being illegally shot in Washington. For a more in-depth coverage of this story, go to king5.com to read more.